Phil. This is my 1987 Carrera. It's the G50 gearbox, which is why I really wanted it. It's got some suspension mods, 964 cams, racing exhaust. Nothing crazy, it's just more of a cruiser. I really enjoy the car, but it is very low and sometimes uncomfortable, but that's part of the fun. What I love about the interior though is that it's a burgundy interior with the silver paint, which is just perfect for, I think, my style. It's got the Group 4 wheels. But yeah, this car is just kind of more about stories. It's something that I got married in. I got a dent pretty substantial on the fender first week I had it. Got a heel put through the cushion on the seat for graduation, so that was fun. So it's just basically just collecting a bunch of different, some patina, some stories. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever sell this car. Actually, my wife won't let me sell the car, so that's probably more so the truth. Yeah, so my first 911 was a 1990 964 C4. It was in pristine condition, guards red, 69,000 miles. My first 911, so I absolutely loved it, but little things like, hey, it was just too perfect. It wasn't a driver's car. Just sat a little higher, you know, it didn't have that personal touch, and I always just kind of envisioned what I would do to a car. And eventually sold it, got a 85 Euro spec 911 that, for all intents and purposes, was the perfect driver's car. Nobody really looked at it. Surprisingly, it had a whale tail on it, which I wasn't keen on at the time. Black with tan interior, so it was great, but ended up not being the perfect car. And I always envisioned in my brain, I wanted to have a silver 911 GT silver with a Merlot interior, and I wanted these Group 4 Campanella wheels. And one day it just popped up at my buddy's shop. He was selling it, and I couldn't pass it up. And so my wife and I, we bought it sight unseen, just saw an Instagram post, and it was perfect. And it was also built by, I think partially built by Sports Purpose Garage, so I knew it was very reputable, the person who was putting it all together. I just felt like I had to have it, and kind of just forced it onto our limited budget, but here we are. Yeah, so the G50 gearbox, it's the most desirable. It came from 87 to 89. It's what like the 964 has. Just a better gearbox. You're not stirring for soup, as they say in the older G body series. So more engaging feel. You know, it's just a kind of a nice little cherry on top for the G series. A little swan song kind of send off, get a nice gearbox, and only released it for a few years. Yeah, so when I first bought the car, I wanted to put yellow headlights on it. That was just kind of the thing that I always loved for some reason. And first time I tried to get into it, it was all rusted out on the housing. I had duct tape over it for a long time, and had our engagement photos taken with duct tape over it, so not very pretty. Ended up putting some JB Weld on it, so this is gonna stay here for a long time. You know, we bought the car sight unseen, drove it from Boise, Idaho down to Spanish Fork, about 5 hours, 5.5 hour trip with my wife. Absolutely loved it. Car worked flawlessly. My wife's niece got, in her graduation, she wanted to take a ride in it, and she had to pose for a picture, so she put her foot up on the seat and just put a heel right through, right through the seat, so that was fun. You know, my wife and I, we got married in it. The first week I owned it, my business partner backed into it. Put a nice little wrinkle on the side there, and I have yet to get it fixed because I'm lazy. But just a lot of stories, you know, it's something that my wife and I think will own forever. She probably drives it more than I do, so it's probably more hers than mine, so I don't have a choice. I'm gonna have to keep it. But yeah, we just love it. Hope to have a lot more stories with the car. I think Porsche, for me, I mean, it's kind of affordable, you know, European car that's very unique. You know, I love the style of it. I love the engineering, the build quality. There's a lot of factors in the Porsche why I think it's so universal, from people like myself who kind of prefer these more, I guess, outlaw style cars to, you know, people who have a concourse, like perfect classic cars. You know, there's one model throughout the history pretty much of the brand, from the first 911 in 1964 all the way till today. They just keep perfecting it, and that's what I think I love about it so much. And it's just a car that's kind of universally loved by everybody, all age groups. I have kids saying this is their dream car, this is their favorite car of all time. I've got older gentlemen who respect it and know it and love it. And so for me, I think it's just a easy way to get into a brand that's very unique. And then you can, have the stigma of modifying it like you do with some other, European cars. Everybody talks about the pendulum with the rear engine and how that can kind of swing out and you can feel that and you have to, use a lot more throttle control. To me, I don't think I drive fast enough to ever feel anything other than I just love the chatter when the cams are on and you're just heel towing, revving the engine, and it's just making the most beautiful sounds. It's a very unique kind of layout considering most cars today are V-shaped engines, but and you're just so close to the engine too. It's just right behind you. You got two rear seats that I wouldn't wish anybody sitting that in, my worst enemies. But I think for me, I love everything about it. You're so intimate in it as well. You're basically rubbing shoulders with the person you're sitting next to. And the smells like an old car. You have oil, gas. Yeah, and just hearing that kind of growl coming out the back, it's just a fun, really addicting sensation. I was, the first week we had it, we drove up the Nebo Loop, which I was not expecting the kind of roads out here. I just moved from Boise, Idaho, and my wife told me about this Canyon Pass, and we were driving up. It was October, so right before it closed, and it was perfect weather, and just coming around a little hairpin, and there was water on the asphalt, and I felt like I've driven enough 911s to know how to do it, and totally just caught it sideways, kind of did a little drift uphill, and just about put it off the side of the road, but I maintained it well. My wife had no idea that I was pissing in my pants. This car was actually, before I bought it, the gentleman that was gonna buy it, if I didn't pull the trigger right then and there, was gonna turn it into a Safari. So he was gonna take this and just make it into a Safari, which would have broken my heart, but I got the car. So to me, I think Porsche's what's great is that it is very acceptable to mod these cars. And I think it's a tasteful, kind of a build, but yeah, I think if it's your car, do what you want with it. The reason why I wanted Aircooled, A, is just you're feeling like kind of the pure essence of the vehicle a lot more, right? It's older, you're seeing the vision of the company, the brand. This is a great kind of in between, the classic, but also kind of a little bit more modern performance. So it's very visceral. Like I said, the engine noise is a big deal too. The water-cooled cars just don't sound the same. Too many modern electronics in there. I think this one is just a very pure car that gives you, somewhat performance, but also feeling kind of that pure essence of what the original 911 was. So I think that's why I love them so much. I mean, why air-cooled? I will have an air-cooled alongside my water-cooled and air-cooled, and probably maybe every year if I'm lucky of the 911 would be ideal. So I'm not over water-cooled, I just have an air-cooled for right now. I regretted selling my other Porsches so much. I had to do a lot to get into them in the first place, and it was really the best decision I ever made. I just didn't want to have any regrets in my life. And I know that if you wait for a perfect time, unless you're making a lot of money, it's probably never going to be a perfect time. And if it's your passion, you got to follow it. I'll sacrifice a lot of other things just to own this car because it means that much to me. But I say there's no better time than the present, especially with the prices going on. So I'd say get into it. Honestly, if you have the opportunity, make it happen.